Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Anarata Bashaliva, along with co-host Dr. Victor Fett, Dr. Katerina Shrey, and our program producer, Professor Larry Shrey. We host a weekly discussion panel on Russia's war on Ukraine with guests from Ukraine, military experts, medical personnel, academics, artists, literary figures, and relief workers. Our panel is recorded and circulated nationally and internationally. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Special thanks to Marshall University Libraries and MUIT for making this weekly event possible. If you are joining us live on Teams, please feel free to use the chat to post any questions for our guests. A quick greetings to our viewers in Ukraine from Professor Katerina Shrey.
Вітаємо наших слухачів в Україні з глибоким покліном. Ми далі свідки вашого страшного терпіння і також вашої незламанності. Все буде Україна. Дякую вам за вашу участь в нашій тижневій програмі.
Thank you. Today's guest will be introduced by Professor Victor Fett.
Thank you, Anara. I am very honored to introduce today our local activist, Pamela Hines. She comes from Morgantown, West Virginia, our state. We are in Huntington on the other end of the state. And she runs a group called Golden Blue United, which is fully concerned with support of Ukraine. This is our 83rd weekly meeting. We started Ukraine podcasts in the first week of war, and we are here every Friday for you. Please, Pamela, microphone is yours.
Hi, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here with you guys so I can show a presentation I presented. Just one moment. All right, everyone able to see it okay?
We see the phone screen right now, yes.
All right. All right, so about 2 weeks into the war, I decided that I wanted to do something to start to help combat evil that I was seeing happening. And so I got on Facebook and I decided to find anyone that I could just link up with to connect and help resource just any way that I could. It worked out that we started sponsoring people. We started helping orphans in Ukraine, and we also worked on building an international transitional house. But how we started was I got on Facebook and met this woman, Fatima Belkova, who lived in Romania at the time, Bucharest. And she was witnessing the hundreds of thousands of people who were flooding into her community just every day, coming off the train, hundreds and hundreds of women and children who were coming in hungry, without any medications, without any peace in their hearts. They were just distraught. So she got together and with a group of women that she was working with, they decided to become a nonprofit, and I became a nonprofit so we could work together and be able to send supplies. Unfortunately, their group fell apart. It just ended up not working out for them. They had a lot going on, but we kept going. And I was introduced to Valery Leko. He is a historian, and he was basically given children that he doesn't have children of his own, but he was given foster children. There were 5 children who were orphaned by the first few weeks of the war, and they had no family left, nowhere to go. So he was kind enough to start taking them in. Unfortunately, the number of orphans grew by the day, and he started an outreach facility out of I believe it's called the Childhood Museum. Yes, the Childhood Museum in Kharkiv. And from there, we just started working together. The thing that motivates us the most is that the kids are innocent in all of this. They don't have, any part in what's going on in the world. And our aim is to make sure that they don't have childhood trauma that stems into their adolescence and into their adulthood that would stunt them from having a successful life. This is a video of one of the families that stayed with Fatima. They're just describing what they witnessed at the beginning of the war and when they transferred over the border.
Давайте, рассказывайте, как было на границе.
Было очень интересно. Во-первых, когда мы переходили пеший переход, я шла с детками вместе с сестрой, помогали им нести вещи, и людям пожилым помогали передвигаться. Там даже видела, что на инвалидной коляске люди шли и помогали. Фу, начинается сейчас. Клоуны были деткам, представления делали, воздушные пузыри, раздавали игрушки. Было очень приятно.
Вариант была куча палаток, совсем необходимых. До ковид-тестов, от еды до ковид-тестов.
Да, там и памперсы деткам были, все, кормили. Там даже отдельные палатки были для животных, еда для животных.
Видели, как животные переходили.
Да, люди берестные животные.
Даже дали вроде переноску дали даже.
Да, контейнер они могли переносить.
Хорошо, что животных не оставили люди.
Да.
So this just shows the emotional response that there was at the beginning of the war when people were traveling and coming into strangers' homes. And I'm sure we all have stories that we've heard from people that are just heart-wrenching. This was the family that stayed with Fatima. They stayed there for about 6 weeks, I believe. What I saw next, what happened next, I didn't see coming. So here in Morgantown, I started a mom group, and it's just basic support for the moms of Morgantown. And this young lady here on the left, Elisa, she posted that she was in dire need of food. She was pregnant. I received a lot of slack for helping Russians, but I don't regret it. They were TOSS journalists and editors in Russia, and they just weren't supportive of what they were seeing. They refused to edit and publish anything that was not true. And they were put on a persecution list for that. So they escaped and got to Mexico. I asked them, what brought you to West Virginia? And it made me laugh because it's something that is very internationally known by people. But they said, the only thing that we knew was country roads take me home. And so they used that as a guidance to follow their intuition as to where they were to go. We were able to help them and another Russian family that was also a journalist in Russia. She was also put on a persecution list and was told she was going to be arrested. So we did what we could to just help anyone in the moment that needed the help. Because at the end of the day, we're all fighting against the same evil, and it doesn't matter where we come from as long as we stand for truth. I started, after the U4U program was created, I started helping people get sponsored into the entire country, to be honest. It started off a few families coming into Morgantown. They ended up moving to other places once they got settled and got on their feet. The first woman and child that I helped come into Morgantown, Oksana and Artem. Artem has autism. It's a pretty severe case of autism, so they were having a hard time in Latvia. They couldn't get any medical care. They couldn't get his education. He wasn't getting much of an education there. So it was very important for his health for them to come to the United States. I'm on my way back from Pittsburgh to Morgantown. I was about 40 minutes away, and I was told Oksana missed her flight because the customs held her up in JFK airport. So, Shanda and I are going to hop into her vehicle, and we are going to New York.
On my way, on my way, on my way, on my way. I would like to reach out my hand for a message. Well, pick me up where golden hand.
Trip started off a little stressful because she'd missed her flight in Pittsburgh, and she was in the middle of the airport in New York, just absolutely, the journey that she had across the United States with an autistic son. But we made it a fun ride home the rest of the trip. Sorry, my slide doesn't want to continue here. I'm on my way back. Okay. Sorry, back to that. Here's a few families that we helped and a couple individuals that we helped get into the United States. We have Dimitri and Elena, his daughter, there. Elena loves to dance. The one thing I love the most about doing this and gaining all this experience is the people. I got to meet so many amazing people along this journey, and their stories are just epic, and I just put myself in their shoes for a few seconds, and it just gave me so much motivation to keep going. We got Dimitri and Elena into Hawaii. We have Alex and Tatiana on the right. They were the second family that I got sponsored. That right there is Emily Leonard. That's their sponsor to the right of Alex. And they're just amazing people. Their sponsorship really went well. They're still staying with them. They all moved to North Carolina. They were originally from Morgantown, Emily and the Leonard family, but they transferred everybody down there with them, and they're all living pretty happily in North Carolina now. Both of them are working. It's really beautiful. Some amazing people that I've met along the way that became a network for us is Kat and Leo here to the left. They create camouflage netting for soldiers on the front, and they send supplies, they raise money for drones, they do all kinds of amazing things for soldiers in need. I had been reached out by someone in Bakhmut who needed help, and they were kind enough to connect me with a unit that was there. And I'd like to take a second to show you guys this video that that we, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
While you're looking for it, let me just tell you that the reference to Country Roads, Take Me Home, that just absolutely touched me on so many levels. It's just it's a song that means like so, like, we take it for granted, we hear it all the time, but for someone who's a refugee, that's just a beautiful little detail. So thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am, it really is. It touched my heart whenever I heard it too, because I guess I didn't think about, how internationally known that song is. And when people think of this country, they actually think it's our national anthem, which is hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Go Bob Denver.
Right. So I'll just move on. I can't find that video. We'll come back to it here in a few minutes. But it was really powerful because it was a family of 11 who had reached out to me, and such a large family in the middle of an occupied area. It was very dangerous. It was very scary for myself. I didn't know if what the next move that I made could take one of their lives. If I was to make a mistake and message the wrong person, could it affect them getting out of the area that they were stuck in? Fortunately, we were able to connect with the right unit and the right people, and we were able to get them out and send them $50 so that they could get food. It was a really beautiful situation, and I'll look for that video here in a moment for you guys, but I'll keep moving on here. So some of the sponsors that we have that were just amazing people that I've met, the Charles family. There in the center holding the baby is Cameron and Diane Charles, and they own several businesses in Chicago, outside about an hour south in a very rural part of Chicago. And they sponsored over 22 people through me. Not only did they do that, they they took in people that were already sponsored into America. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, we have nowhere to go. Our sponsor ditched us. We have no money. We have nowhere to sleep tonight. And I kid you not, Cameron, I would pick up the phone and call him and I'd say, hey, I have a family that's in LA, downtown Los Angeles. They have nowhere to go. They need help. He would literally buy them a ticket right then and there and get their information, fly them to Chicago, um, put them up in his house or his camper or a hotel, whatever he had to do to put a roof over their head for the night. And then he not only would he do that, but every single person that has come through the Charles family has been provided work, helped them with their paperwork so that they could become legal citizens. Providing work and housing in itself is just such a boost for people, and they did it so many times. Like so many times I can't even remember how many times. I roundabout guess because I went through my list and I said, well, I know 22 people they've sponsored through us. So but countless other families that they've helped. Here's a few of them. Some of the people that the Charles family has sponsored. There's them working in their kitchen at one of their restaurants. They own a restaurant, a bakery, and they're just amazing people. Another amazing person that I met was Daniel Lewakowski. He is actually Hungarian and he owns a gym. And what he did was he turned his business into a humanitarian aid resource. He just turned everything around and did, and every ounce of energy and supplies that he had, he would take into the most dangerous parts of Ukraine. And if you guys have a second, go to my Facebook and check him out. He's on most of my social medias. He's really amazing. I ended up calling him a few times with a few families that were near where he was going, and I would say, hey, Daniel, I have a family that really needs diapers and they really need formula, or they need a pair of boots for their boy for the winter, just anything. He would make a point to stop and make sure that that family got what they needed. And I'm forever grateful to these people for the resources they used, the time they used, the energy they used to make sure that people that I cared for that reached out to me received help. Some amazing people that I met, John and Natasha Sennett, and they introduced me to Saran Donsev, I think it's how you pronounce his name. And he also runs humanitarian aid in all parts of Ukraine. When that flood happened, he was one of the first people there to make sure that people were receiving any kind of food or clothes or anything they needed. He's just a great human being. He also sent care packages. He hand delivered 4 packages for me one time because he didn't have a car, and he physically walked these packages to the places that I needed them. So, like I said, they're just outstanding people. I'm so blessed to have met them. Another person that I met is Adrian, aka Tuck Smash. He is a former Marine here for the United States. He is an MMA fighter. He decided that when the war started that he wanted to stand up for what was right, and he wanted to use the skills he acquired as a U.S. Marine to fight against Russia and to help protect some of the people that are fighting there. And he'd served about 9 months over there and came back to the United States for 2 months, and he is back over there, I believe, right now. Some of the things that we do are not as extreme. We do stuff like make videos. So with this situation, and it's just to show that the small things matter. We make these videos for people to tell their story, and it's amazing what could happen. So this is Olga and Liza. Liza is living in Kansas City, and she reached out to me and asked for help because her mom was diagnosed with colon and pancreatic cancer. Now, those are some pretty rough cancers to be experiencing. So the treatment was out of control in Zaporizhia. They wanted something like $25,000 a month for her chemotherapy. And at one point, she just didn't have any more money to give. And she was without treatment and the cancer was taking over it fast. So Liza reached out to me and I said, well, I'll sponsor your mom myself. We'll get her over here. And we made these videos, and a congresswoman out of Kansas had seen my TikTok. And randomly, it's weird that she lives in Kansas and somehow she saw my TikTok, but she reached out to Liza and me, and she asked if we still needed a sponsor. She ended up sponsoring Olga herself. And it was just a beautiful situation. They were able to get the application pushed through faster because she was a congresswoman. We got Olga into Kansas City. She's doing amazing. She's going into remission now. She's had 22 treatments since she's been here, and she's just doing great. And we're so glad that Olga was able to get here and start getting help that she needed. So I'd like to go now to a few videos on our toy drive. So at one point when I was sending supplies last year, I decided that I wanted to send warm clothes that Valerie had reached out and asked for. He said, we really need warm clothes for the kids. So what we did is have him send us these videos of the children asking for toys.
The snowman was a jolly happy soul. Тебя зовут? Аня. Сколько тебе лет? 6. А что ты хочешь Дед Морозу заказать? Я хочу Дед Морозу заказать на море. На море поехать? Хорошо, молодец. Ну, как тебя зовут? А сколько тебе?
Sorry, that one doesn't have subtitles. I don't know if it's because of this video, but it's not showing the subtitles. Hold on, we'll try this one.
Как тебя зовут? Меня зовут Кенни. Сколько тебе лет?
I'm sorry, I don't know why.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Nope. Okay, moving on. I will show you guys.
The one boy was asking that he wanted to go.
3 big ass boxes. Well, they were too big.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, the one boy in the first video, he was asking to go to the more, to the, like we would say, I guess, to the beach, but to go to the ocean side, which was very sweet.
I know I have all of the translations in text forms there, but for some reason they're not showing up, which really defeats my purpose here for you guys seeing it. But you speak Ukrainian.
Well, the images are amazing. The images they literally tell the story beautifully. You're doing great. This is great.
Okay, wonderful. Here is a video of the kids receiving some of their gifts.
That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. I feel it. That tonight's gonna be.
Что у меня это есть.
Серьезно?
Along the way, I met several families, and one family particularly, Olga and her daughter Vlada, really stuck out. This is Vlada.
Hi, my name is Vlada. I'm from Ukraine. I'm so grateful for this adorable presents. Bye-bye. Hi.
So Olga and I got very close. We still speak every day. She's genuinely just such an amazing person, and her daughter is a light in the world. Vlada's school was destroyed about 3 weeks into the war, and so we do lessons together over Instagram. I help her learn English. She helps me learn Ukrainian, and our relationship just blossomed. We send packages to her as well because they're struggling throughout all this as well. Here's a video from 3 orphans that wanted to tell us hello.
Привіт, містер Джині. Ми з України. Ми з Харкова. Мене звати Макар. Мене звуть Евеліна, а це мій молодший братик Євгеній. У нас дуже гарна Україна. У нас дуже привітні люди. Запрошуємо вас
And then here is a video showing our donations and what we were able to gather. So last Christmas, we gathered over 500 pounds of warm clothing and 500 pounds of toys, and we were able to collect over $2,000. We used that money to send this much.
It's almost there. So spread some cheer. Let's give love, get some back. The more you give, the more you have. When the fire's bright enough and the snow comes down, grab your friends, hold them near.
There's one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for every moment that led to this day. Thank you for the hard times. They made me appreciate the good times. Thank you for the lessons. They were needed for my development. Thank you for my eyes that get to witness the miracles of today and tomorrow. Thank you for everything I take for granted. Thank you for all of my blessings. Thank you for my drive. Thank you for my spirit. Thank you for my strength. Thank you for giving me the courage to fight through the hard times. Thank you for the people in my life, those I love and those I learn from. Thank you for it all. Thank you.
So that was just my husband and I packing the toys. It took us about a week and a half to get everything packaged and shipped, but it ended up being one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever had. We sent small care packages.
You see these 3 big ass boxes? Well, they were too big.
Sorry, that was the wrong one. We sent small care packages to several families that were just in need on top of that. Also, the families that we couldn't get boxes to that were in locations that weren't safe to send packages to, we sent them $50 on Christmas morning so that they would be able to get something to feed their family and have a real Christmas dinner. It's overall just been an amazing experience, and the things that we have lined up are also amazing. We want to create a transitional house here in Morgantown for people who are coming into the community that are new to everything about the United States. They don't know the language, they don't know where to start. We will be able to help people get sponsored once we raise enough funds. We would like to be corporate sponsors through the U4U program. The transitional house will create employment for the community and for immigrants. We'll have counseling services, assimilation ambassadors, it'll boost the community morale. We'll be able to get people more involved with immigrants. And I feel like we need to reconstruct the way that everyone is viewing immigrants in this country at this time, especially those coming from the war. We want to provide more positive impact on the community and show them the rewards of having people that are coming from all over the world like this, like we are experiencing now. And also, the state of West Virginia is facing unprecedented numbers in the foster care system. We wish to fix that by implementing the plans that we've created. We will integrate the community by giving families a chance to meet the children. So working with Governor Justice on a bill, and this bill will incorporate the foster agencies of West Virginia and our organization. So what will happen is the foster agencies will have grant money given to them, and it will be allocated to different, I'm trying to think of how to explain this. We're just basically all working together and allocating funds to one another through this bill. It will also break, barriers for getting the children that are in Ukraine here. We hope to build a foster home into the transitional center that will serve purpose to the kids here in our community, as well as the children that we wish to bring out of Ukraine and bring to safety to be adopted here in the States. So our goals short term are continuing to sponsor people. We are still doing our toy drive and our warm clothing drive. And we have hopes to plant a sunflower field that will produce fundraising
here in the spring. And then we also have a prom fundraiser that we're throwing for the students of WVU. And we're hoping that the funds that we raise from both fundraisers will be enough to sponsor at least 10 families and bring 10 families that we care very deeply for, that we've been trying to get sponsored since the beginning of the war. A few of them have medical issues that they need to be in a place where they can receive the proper medical care. We've got a couple families that are expecting babies. You know, we're really just pressed to make sure that we get them here as soon as possible before the program ends. If the program does end, I've heard rumors of that, but I'm not sure if that's a fact or not. Fixing the foster care system and just helping the orphans. We have big dreams because we have big problems, and we'd really like to use businesses that we dream of having, such as drive-in theater, cafes, concerts, festivals, the Sunflower Field, venues. We have a spot picked out for a scenic lodge that we would like to use all the funds and profits that come from that to fuel our International Community Center. And what can we do now is continue to sponsor people and continue to send supplies and pray for the spread of hope. Are we still there?
Yes, we are. And thank you so much, Pamela, for this absolutely wonderful and touching presentation. You guys are real heroes, and the amount of love and amazement is just unbelievable. And it's really very hard to speak, but I will give a chance to my co-hosts and viewers to say something and ask, please.
Oh, I echo Victor's statement. This war has shown us so many horrible things. But your efforts and the efforts of those who work with you, and the people, like, for example, the Charles family and the man from Hungary. Say his name again,
Daniel Lewakowski.
Lewakowski and Mr. Lewakowski. I mean, that is the absolute best of humanity. I'm very grateful for the photographs that you're sharing, because it reminds us that these are not just faceless, nameless people. This is Olga, who is suffering from cancer, who has a family who loves her. There's a son with autism. There are people with pets who don't want to leave their pets. There's, I believe, one of the pictures, I think, had someone with Down syndrome in it. And this is like all of humanity is represented in your photos. These are no longer just anonymous statistics. So I'm very, very grateful. I'm beyond grateful. I see that Dean Leonard Deutsch has his hands up. He is a very good friend of our program, and himself is sponsoring quite a few Ukrainians, and so for their educational purposes. So Dean Deutsch, I yield the microphone to you.
First of all, I applaud you, Pam. You're doing wonderful work. Can you tell us a little bit more about working with Governor Justice on a bill? Who is the liaison? What is the purpose of the bill? What can you tell us about it at this point?
Yeah, we don't have everything completely intact yet. We're still working because we have to rely and wait on foster agencies to kind of catch up with us. They have so behind on everything that they're doing. It's like they don't really have the push to join our cause right now. But Governor Justice is the one pushing things along. Due to child trafficking laws, we wouldn't be able to bring any of the orphans here at any time soon. So the bill is really proposing that we get around that law somehow while being safe and bringing these kids here in a strategical system that can be created that will allow us to bring them here as soon as possible. So really the bill is focused more on trafficking side. But the things that we're discussing with grants right now is that we could work together, the foster agencies here, we could work together in getting grants. And the one problem that we have in Morgantown right now is the foster children, there's nowhere to put them. So they take these kids from the home. There's no foster home for them to go directly into. They put them in hotels. So these kids will go from being in their home to now being in a HR office, and then they're in a hotel, and then they're just waiting, going to school the next day, coming back to a hotel. When they don't have the money to serve hotel rooms, these kids sleep on the floor of the DHHR office. This was something that rocked me to my core when I heard it. To take a child from their home, even if the situation isn't what it should be presented to be for the child's safety, that's traumatizing to a child to leave their home, and they don't understand what's going on. And then to take them and put them on the floor of an office was a big eye opener for me, that the problem really is bad, and that if people like me and my husband and the people that work with us in Gold and Blue, if we don't step up and do something, not only is our community going to fall, but we won't be able to help anyone else come into the community and thrive, especially the children. We got to help the children here and be ahead of the game, so that when we bring the children from Ukraine, that there's a system established that will help them thrive and come away from the trauma that they've experienced and move forward and have a good adulthood.
Is there anything we can do in the way of writing letters to the governor?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just to help push along what we're trying to get done. Yes, that would be very helpful. Just discussing the importance of the orphans out of Ukraine. They're still bombed every day. They still have to go down. I'm sure all of you know stories of stuff that's still happening every day there, and it's disturbing, because I'll get on the phone with him and with Valerie, and they'll be down in the basement of the Childhood Museum just hiding. And it's such a shame to see kids that scared every day, and the sooner that we can get them out of there, the better.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Leonard Deutsch. We have more maybe questions or comments from the viewers, please. Katrina?
A quick follow-up on what Dean Deutsch was asking, and we also, foster kids are very dear to my heart personally. Off camera, I would love to have a longer conversation with you. I know the problems you were talking about. From a purely institutional perspective, Marshall University has started to dedicate resources to students coming to us from foster care, because their needs are different and they are specific. And the word trauma is just even in things that are intended to make their life better, there is trauma, and it is heartbreaking. And I know this is a long way away, but as you make your plans to welcome students from Ukraine or anywhere, or any foster kids, the domestic foster kids from West Virginia, please know that Marshall University is actively trying to serve as a prosperity platform for all students, but specifically for this population who has been through so much. So off camera, I would love to have a longer conversation with you about this. I see that Carol Smith, a friend of our program, has a question or comment. So Carol, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I apologize. I think I sneezed and everybody got to hear that. I'm so sorry. I'm a professor of counseling at Marshall University. I'm not on the main campus. I'm on the South Charleston campus near the Gold Dome. So if I can be a resource for you in talking to people underneath the Gold Dome when they're in session, let me know. I would be happy to go and talk because I live right here in Charleston. I'm also aware of a statewide organization called the West Virginia ACEs Coalition. ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences Coalition.
Yes.
If you just Google it, you can join that coalition for free because you live in West Virginia, and it interfaces with a lot of the things that you're doing, but without the Ukraine aspect. It talks about foster care. It talks about, long-term care of kids with high ACE scores, of which these Ukrainian refugee children obviously are good candidates for high ACE scores. What do we do about this as child-facing agencies in West Virginia? And the purpose of the coalition is to try and tear down the communication silos that we have where we're like doing the same thing over and over and over again and wasting energy rather than like building on that, on efforts. They would be a good group, A, to speak to raise awareness of what you're doing, and B, to tap into because they get grants.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they're a 501c3 also now, and they're a new organization. I've been on the board, but I'm having to roll off the board because I got too many things going on in my life. But I can get you connected.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love when my network grows.
Bless your heart. Yeah, and shoot, you do some serious social media. I am old and I don't do social media, and I see how powerful that is. Yeah, so
really,
you know, ACE, the West Virginia ACES Coalition could use somebody like you who understands how to get the word out.
Oh wow, that would be a wonderful union. That would be really great.
Yeah, yeah. If now I'm saying my email to everybody in the world. My email is carol.smith@marshall.edu. Just my name, carol.smith@marshall.edu. I'd be glad to connect you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Carol, your point about social media is so well taken. It's true, Pamela. If you're watching your presentation, we're used to, PowerPoints and news clips, but you definitely scooped us up. I can see that. I think, like Carol, I understood and knew, wow, this is why this is so effective. So beautifully done. Thank you for using your talents in such an important cause. Very beautifully done.
Thank you. Yeah, the only way that I started any of this was social media. I just was like, how can I connect with someone all the way across the world and do anything from Morgantown, West Virginia? But God put it on my heart and he orchestrated the whole thing. And I do like to use the only talents that I have. They might not be, master's degrees in anything, but I use what I know to do what.
Beautifully, beautifully.
Thank you.
It's really amazing. I must add that we didn't have many speakers on our program who so flawlessly presented it in such a brilliant way. It really looks very professional.
Oh, well, thank you.
I guess it comes with experience, that's all. But do we have more questions or advice, please? Actually, I see one of my oldest friends joining us from Kiev. He might not speak, but just to tell you, Pamela, that we are watching Ukraine live almost every Friday, and people connect. I got your name, I believe, through John and Natasha Sennett, but I got their names from other sources too in the States. And here is Sergei Kamyshan, my old friend, also listening.
I'm very grateful to you, Pamela.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Sergei, go ahead with the question.
I only expressed my gratitude to Pamela.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
I'm very grateful to you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Sergei. Any other questions, please, as or comments as we move toward? I would be very glad to connect. We would be very glad to connect, Pamela, to our local groups in Charleston and in Huntington as well. Anara?
I have a question. I think that Pamela invented a new type charity. This is a new know-how. I think more people should know about your initiative. It just you are working between many sponsors, but they are not so flexible. You are doing very quickly. You deliver health very, very quickly. I think you should write more about your invention because it is something new. And my question is, do you help only Ukrainians or you help ethnic minorities like Russians, Tatar, or many Jews who are coming from Ukraine?
So I've helped 2 Russian families. They were the journalist and editor, and then a journalist and her husband. And that's the only other Russian families that I've been able to help. it got a little heated whenever I did help them. I received some threats, and I had a little bit of some hiccups from that, but you know, I don't regret a single moment of it, because there are two families that are living safely and free, and they're able to speak their minds and their truth, and tell their testimony of what it was like to live in Russia, what it's like to come here, and to see all the things that they were told that were lies. To see that none of it is true is completely eye-opening for them and life-changing. And it makes me very happy to see that they're thriving here, but I've mostly helped Ukrainians.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, as I said, we will be happy to help as a liaison between academic specialists like Dr. Carol Smith, who just spoke. She is a child trauma expert and helps local groups a lot. Carol?
Well, I just wanted to say, you are doing so much more than I am doing, because you are helping real people in real time. And I talk about helping real people. I teach people how to help people, but you're actually doing it. And I would love to find out ways, and my brain's going nuts right now, trying to figure out, okay, how do I connect with this? And how do I connect my master's level students with this? How do I connect the association that I got started on trauma counseling? How do I connect our members to you and you to them? Like how, so that we, oh my gosh, I got started in creating an association for people who provide trauma counseling. It took us 40 years to start this stupid association. And now we're stuck on filling out a form to register with the IRS. And we've been stuck on this form for about 6 months. And there's just so much, like you just say, there's so much bureaucracy, paperwork, red tape that is interfering. Well, anyway, it's interfering with my mission, my vision of, can we operationalize? Can we get to places that need help and need it now? And I have a particular heart for Ukraine. I don't know why. I'm not Ukrainian. I don't have any Ukrainian heritage. Just when this war started last February, 18 months ago, 19 months ago, I was just like, this is stupid. This is crazy. This should not be happening. And what can I do about this? And you are so inspirational to me. I want to find out, okay, how do I take my work to the next step, to the next level?
Well, something that actually just came to my mind is the original organization that was working with Valerie Leiko was one that was run by a bunch of psychologists and therapists. And I'd be happy to connect you with them as well, because they have an association that they started that's helping the traumatized soldiers, and they work with the children as well. So they provide free counseling to people who are traumatized by the war.
I think I've seen an article about that recently, about psychologists reaching out and providing mental health care to people in Ukraine, particularly the soldiers. Yes. I also have a colleague in Colorado who has a military background himself. His name is Joshua Krameyer, and he's been in and out of Ukraine a number of times. I think he's there now, but I'm not 100% sure. And he also offers on the ground military retreats for families in Ukraine dealing with the I don't know what else to call it, but that ricochet between being deployed and then coming back to the family and reintegrating and then being deployed again, and how hard that is on the family unit. He also serves on the association that I'm working with. And again, I'm trying to get him connected with some folks who spoke on this Ukrainian podcast earlier. And we're going to connect in November. But we're just trying to build the web, figuring out how do we get people connected so that we can just make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what this whole thing has been about for me, is just making connections. it's sad that some of my networks have fallen apart. It breaks.
It happens.
But it happens. And there's just nothing to do but keep pressing on and trust God and trust that he'll bring the right people at the right time that, you know, that will help fulfill whatever your heart desire is to help someone. So I believe in that.
That's terrific. Yeah. Yes. And, you know, I have a couple of avenues that, you know, can help you get the word out. Like we have a newsletter that's to our association memberships.
Okay.
The West Virginia ACES Coalition holds annual meetings. You could easily be a speaker at those annual meetings. We have meetings that are online that don't require any travel for anybody, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there are ways to continue to get the word out. But even as I'm offering these, I'm aware that, wait a minute, you're already doing a better job of getting the word out than we are.
Hey,
through social media.
Social media is great, but it only gets me to a certain extent. Like I only reach one or two demographics with it because, you know, not everybody's on TikTok or not everybody's on Facebook or not everybody's even on social media. So I'm trying to reach other generations. Yeah. I'm trying to reach other generations that won't see my Facebook posts. You know, they'll read an article in a newspaper, you know, here in town. So we do a lot of articles with the Dominion Post. With the university, we post everything we can on the websites for every radio station for their community calendars. Right now, we really are focusing in on getting sponsors because we're afraid that the program is going to end soon, and we want to get the families that we've been hoping, praying that we could get here before that happens. So my main goals right now, like I said, is just to help keep getting people sponsored, to be able to send more toys and warm clothes than we did last year. Because like I said, the number of orphans grows. You know, there's no set number because every day it grows. So,
have you tapped into the Council of Churches or Council of Religious Organizations in West Virginia?
Reached out to a few churches. Unfortunately, some lie on the political side of things and they don't want to be involved. But
I get that.
Yeah, we've had a few churches who have been awesome about getting together and having meetings, and we've gotten a couple people sponsored that way.
Okay. There's a toy drive that happens with some Christian organization that happens every Christmas that's sending toys overseas. Is it Samaritan's Purse? I think is the name of the group. I can't remember. But they are a fairly large organization. They're actually an offshoot of Billy Graham's crusades that he used to have back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. It's actually his son, Franklin Graham's, his sort of foundation. And they do a thing, and I think it's called Operation Christmas Child, but I can't remember the details.
Oh, that's familiar. That sounds
but they would also be a good group to partner with, but they are an enormous organization. I mean, way bigger than anything in West Virginia. They're a national/international organization.
Yeah, I've heard of it before. They do a lot of work with biker gangs.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they do a lot of work with the biker gangs. I've seen a few drives that they've had around here for that, and it was biker gangs that were promoting the foundation.
Right. You already know this, and I'm sorry, this is a little off topic, but you know as well as I do that some of the people who present with the toughest exterior presentation, you know, the tattoos, the piercings, the leather, the just tough. Inside, they are pudding. They are gooey on the inside.
Big old teddy bears. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, shoot, let's get them involved. Yeah. Let's tap into that pudding.
Yeah, we're hoping to get in with some of the minors this year because they are very supportive of anything for children. So we're going to be heading to some mines and see if we can get some support on lunchtime.
That would be great. Yeah, I don't mean to jump in and dominate. That's not my point. But I really would like to connect with you afterwards and figure out, okay, what do we do next? What do we do?
Absolutely. That sounds awesome.
Wonderful. Carol, you're not dominating, you're contributing enormously. to the process.
Oh,
We
thank
we
you.
are extremely grateful. That's what we are here for. We will thank, if we don't have any more specific questions, we will thank everyone, and especially Pamela and her people for this. Thank you for your time and for sharing with us, and for your love for truth and what matters most.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate all of your input and all
We
of
will
sharing
we
my
will
story.
post all your contacts as a description to the YouTube recording. We'll post it further on Facebook, and I will ask Dr. Trey right now to say a couple of greeting words in Ukrainian. This is what we do in the end of program, honoring our Ukrainian
Yeah.
viewers.
Well, first, we end on a note of immense gratitude for the amazing people who are helping in your efforts, and we offer our hopeful thoughts and heartfelt prayers for Olga as she continues to undergo treatment for her cancer. Дорогі браття і сестри в Україні, ми зберігаємо вас у наших щоденних думках і молитвах. Нехай милосердний Бог тримає вас у своїй опіці. До наступного тижня. Прощаємося. Слава Україні!
Героям слава.
Героям слава.
God bless Ukraine. God bless America. Thank you very much. This concludes our Friday program from 29th of September.
Thank you.